For the honor of Grayskull, it's been a long time coming, but here it finally is, my top 10 She-Ra episodes. Making this list was pretty difficult, but you will probably notice a few familiar entries. I will also say that while there are a few episodes with cameos from He-Man characters, there will only be one episode on this list which features He-Man himself. But now, let's get on with it.
Ugh, what a ride! It's a good thing we had this soft mattress to land on!
Number 10, Three Courageous Hearts. Alright, some of you might think this is basically just Quest for He-Man in She-Ra form, but it is a bit different. Basically, She-Ra gets tossed to another dimension, and it's up to Madame Razz, Cal, and Broomy to bring her back to Etheria. I mostly enjoy this one for all the psychedelic nonsense She-Ra gets up to, but it's also just a great episode showing Madame Razz and Cal trying hard to help She-Ra, which I respect. A very simple episode, but one I enjoy.
What world is this?
Why, they're people. People made of rock.
Number 9, The Rock People. This episode introduced the, well, rock people, who really do look like weird stone transformers. There are people looking for a place to live and wind up smack in the middle of the fight between the rebels and the Horde. Now, this episode has some decent action, and almost all of the Hordsmen actually do something useful in this episode. What I find particularly funny, though, is that once the Rock People get serious, how the Horde don't stand a chance against them. The Rock People would come back for a few more appearances, so I like the fact that they weren't just a one-off. It's an action-packed but also a very thoughtful episode, which is the reason it got featured.
I think I'll make King Randor my court jester when I conquer Eternia. If he's funny enough.
Number 8 of Shadows and Skulls. In this episode, Shadow Weaver gets fed up with Hordak and joins forces with Skeletor to bring him down. But of course, he then double-crosses Weaver and tries to take over the Fright Zone. I just love the idea of a Shadow Weaver and Skeletor team-up, and I also love how the other henchmen immediately turn on Imp once Hordak is gone. Definitely give this one a watch. Number 7, Flowers for Hordak. This episode was my very first She-Ra episode reviewed, so did you really think it wasn't going to get up here? Now, 9 indestructible rock people is one thing, but when Hordak gets taken down by a flower girl, that's even better. Hands down the funniest episode of the show in my book, second only to possibly my number 1 episode, but yeah, still pretty great.
I am Huntara, warrior of Silex. Which of you is Hordak?
Number 6, Huntara. Hordak brings the warrior Huntara to Etheria in order to defeat She-Ra by making her think she's an outlaw. Not only is the battle between She-Ra and Huntara quite good, I love that Catra and Scorpia actually team up because they're afraid Huntara's gonna put them out of a job. As badass as this episode is, the finale is kinda underwhelming though, which is why it wound up on the bottom end of the list. But still, it's really nice to see someone match She-Ra in a real fight for once.
Warriors of the Snow Kingdom, forward!
Number 5, Black Snow. The single best episode to feature Modulok and the second best to feature Frosta. The Ice People and the Selkies are about to go to war thanks to Modulok's machinations, and it takes She-Ra's and Frosta's intervention to stop it. This is just an action-packed, ass-kicking episode with loads of Frosta action, and it really turned the boat around on Modulok for me, who before I saw this episode I'd really written off as a shitty He-Man villain. Well, he still is, but at least he's the main villain of a really good She-Ra episode as well.
Go on, Star.
Oh, all right. She-Ra, we're going to have a baby.
Number 4, Swifty's baby. Swiftwind and Starwind are having a baby. So Hordak decides to use the situation to his advantage and captures Starwind in an effort to capture She-Ra. Not only is Swiftwind a total boss in this episode, there's more unicorn action than in any other episode, and the ending is pretty touching as well. This could easily have been number 1, were it not for the really dumb opening scene.
Oh, good idea! Smart idea! Did you stay up all night thinking of that one, or did it come to you in a flash?
You can invent more insults for me in there, my little friend.
Number 3, Anchors Aloft Part 1. This is the episode in which we're introduced to Seahawk's father, the Falcon. The Horde Admiral Scurvy and Seahawk's ship gets taken down. Not only is this a solid character episode on Seahawk, which also explores his and Adora's relationship, it's just a kick-ass opener to this 2-part story. Now, obviously you should see Part 2 as well, but it just isn't nearly as good as Part 1, which is why this is not a double entry. But yeah, definitely a worthwhile episode.
Aw, thanks, She-Ra. Okay.
Number Number 2, The Greatest Magic. She-Ra gets pulled to Trolla and has to help its rulers take down the evil Dr. Zoog. I'm not gonna lie, this might be my all-time second favorite Orko episode, beating out the likes of Return of Orko's Uncle and The Trouble in Trolla from He-Man. Not only do we see the whole Trollan cast one last time, even Driel is on the ball this time. Overall, solid and fun episode.
Hey! If you could leave Frosta alone for a minute, He-Man, we could use a hand.
And number 1, Sweet Bee's Home. Of course, all of you saw this one coming. One of the earliest She-Ra episodes I ever saw, but it's still one of my favorites. This episode has action, comedy, romance, and a good message. She-Ra kicks ass, Sweet Bee's struggle is a great little peek into the planet's problems, but of course the main attraction and the reason this episode is my all-time favorite is Frosta falling head over heels for He-Man. This is pretty much the most balanced and at the same time craziest She-Ra episode. I'd say this gives my top 5 He-Man episodes a run for their money. And that's all from me for now. Until next time, I have the power, so can you.
Blast you robots are rotten shots!